What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Kickback. I am your host, the dude, and we're here. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm fine. I apologize for the
It's okay.
mishap.
It's okay.
Here's the thing. This Riverside is something new for me.
Okay.
Normally I record my interviews on another platform, and this is, like I said, this is something new. I'm trying something different, but we're going to keep all this because I want my audience to know this is real and raw, and technical difficulties happen. They
That
happen.
indeed. It
Yes.
does.
How are you today, man?
I'm well. Can't complain. A very eventful day. How about
Very,
yourself?
same here.
Good.
Dealing with the public, it's always eventful.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, and I deal with the small public, the small people, children all day long.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I drive a school bus, so it's very eventful. But we're here today. This is The Kickback. I'm your host, the dude. We are here today with Nisha Speaks. How are you? How's
I'm very
things? You said it's
well.
been eventful.
Yes.
All righty. So we're here to talk about you and what you have going on in this beautiful world today, because I like to tell my audience that I interview ordinary people doing extraordinary things in their lives.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. That,
You make it
hey,
sound good, but
yes. I mean, we got to make it sound good because, yes, there are a lot of people in your field, but not a lot of people have the passion for people like you
correct.
do.
That is correct. I would totally agree with you.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. You got to understand that the people that I've interviewed along the way have been extraordinary people because they have passion for whatever it is that they're doing and whatever they have going on, whether it be counseling, whether it be advocacy, whether it be, just whatever in life that they're doing, they have a passion for it. So let's dive right in. Where are you
Absolutely.
from?
Originally from Chicago, Illinois. However, I've been in Nashville for a little over 20 years. So a lot of people tend to say that I'm a Nashvilleian, but I don't know. Chicago is home. That's my heart. So I always still claim to this day that I'm from Chicago, even 20 years later.
No, you got to get that up. You got to get, because
No, probably
you don't
not.
even you don't even sound like you're from Chicago.
Well, I never did, though. That's the thing. That's the
Hey,
thing.
I'm born and raised Nashville, Tennessee. Been here my whole entire life. This has been home. This has been base. So Chicago to how 20 years.
20 years.
Where'd you go to college?
Graduated from MTSU in 2018 with a bachelor's in liberal studies. Graduated from Trevecca University in 2023 with a
Okay.
master's in mental health clinical counseling. And hopefully will be accepting admissions to to Tennessee Tech University for my doctoral in clinical counseling and supervision in the fall of this year.
Well, you go, girl.
Appreciate you.
Congratulations on all
Appreciate
of
you.
that, man. That is
Period.
beautiful. Yeah, hey, it is because we have to educate ourselves. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
lifelong student. I try to learn something new every day because I feel like if I'm not learning, then something's wrong.
Okay. We all
I'm
can
looking.
learn some aspect or another, even if
I'm
it's not
looking
in the
at your.
school setting.
I'm
We
looking
are
at your
still
neck.
learning. Say what
Can you
now?
bring the camera up a little bit? I'm looking at your neck and your chin.
Really? I'm
Yes,
fully in
ma'am.
the camera though. I can see my full body. Like I can
What can you see of me in my picture?
just half of your face and your mic. Yep,
Is
I
that
can see
better?
you better now. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
from what I see on my end is I just see your mouth and the
Really?
from here up is missing.
From
From
here up
yes, ma'am. All I
is
see is your mouth.
missing.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
is
All I
so
see is from here
crazy.
down.
So in my picture frame of me looking at me, I can see from the top of my head, I still have space at the top, and I can see almost to my waistline.
No, ma'am. All I see is from here down. I can see the
Uh-huh.
bottom of your glasses.
Yeah, I don't know, because like I said, I see my full me. I do. On my side, I see the full frame. It's so crazy that that's all you see.
I don't know. I don't know. Technology
Yeah,
is good. It's good, but it's bad.
yeah. Especially if
It,
it's the first time that you're using it too. We never know. It could be trial and error. You never know. By the time you view it, it may show my full what I
it
see.
may. Once I
You
go
know.
back and edit it, we'll work on it, and we may have to revisit this again.
Hey, I'm here for it.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about you and Nisha Speaks. How long
Hmm.
ago did you start that? And what was the reasoning behind starting Nisha Speaks?
Yeah. So surprisingly, Nisha Speaks has only been around since October of this year, 2025. I just founded it. However, I
Congratulations.
did previous speaking engagements years on years and years, but I felt like instead of me just speaking just by my name, why not have a name for my public speaking, right? So through Nisha Speaks Co., not only am I the founder, but I do public speaking, mentor, and mental health advocacy. Yeah. So it's fairly new, the name, but what I do is not new at all. It's just
All right. So
yes.
Nisha Speaks, you said since October, but you've been
Hmm.
doing speaking engagements way
Absolutely.
past that.
As early as really for longer than this, but as far as in a mental health professional setting, since 2020, I've been doing it
Okay.
on the
Five
topic of
years.
mental health.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the biggest stigma you see when it comes to men and mental health?
So the biggest stigma I see with men and mental health is, especially black men of mental health, is just a matter of fact that, black men are raised to not really show emotion, not really, express emotion. It's just a matter of fact of like, you have to be the man of the house. I have to be strong. I have to be this, alpha type personality. And that's something that I pride myself in and removing that stigma, not only in the male side of things, but in the black community in general, right? Because in the black community, you're raised in a church 9 times out of 10, and you're raised, pray about it. Jesus is going to fix it. Pray about it. But even the word says prayer without work is dead. So we going to pray about it, but we also going to do some work with it too. So I try to always reduce that stigma as much as possible. Like I say, not only in the black community, but especially for black men, because that's just not a space. Black women are a little bit more vulnerable than black men are, but black men, it's almost like stigmatized that you cannot show emotion, or it's almost like traumatizing because a lot of black women get into the state of, especially in relationships, hey, you can talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And then once that man opens up and talks to his significant other, then she throws it in his face. Well, that's the reason why you a crybaby, you this, you that. And it's like, you can't ask him to be vulnerable and then throw it in his face and use it as a weapon against him. That's not going to do anything but shut him down. In a therapeutic setting, and my thought process is that it all stems from a therapeutic safe space. Do you feel safe enough to share your deepest thoughts with me? Do you feel safe enough to be vulnerable? Because vulnerability is not an easy place to be. It's no fun, but it definitely, black men mental health is definitely stigmatized in itself.
Right. You talked about being vulnerable. Vulnerability means opening yourself up for an attack. So
Pretty
being
much.
yeah, being vulnerable, you open yourself up to attack. And I think that is a lot of what has happened. Society, Jim Crow, we can throw out all these systemic things that have
Right.
happened in the world. And understand that as men, we saw Paw Paw go to work, pay the
Hmm.
bills, come home, and never talk about how he felt, or you didn't see Paw Paw cry unless his mama died, his daddy died, and he might have cried when the dog died.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that was about it. But we've come to a place where now it's starting to be a little more regular, where we're having more male oriented group sessions, to where we are sitting down and we're having those conversations, and we're creating those safe spaces for those brothers to have those conversations. What is do you counsel any children?
I do. Now, children are not my forte for several reasons. I will counsel children, but if I counsel children, it's usually children 12 and older. Mental health is a sensitive topic area for me, right? So for me to be as passionate as I am in mental health, I'll also put myself in a position to be an advocate for mental health, right? So when I'm
Okay.
dealing with kids and children, a lot of times, not even a lot, 99.9% of the time, children are in therapy because of their systemic dynamics, right? The challenges within their family. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's the parents' reason that
Oh
that
no,
child needs
most
to be
definitely.
in therapy, right? So, with that being said, I'm the type of person that because I advocate so hard for my client, regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of national orientation, sexual identity, gender, all of that, because I advocate so hard for my client, when I'm dealing with children, I know that children don't have the legal authority to make decisions or do things in their lives. So I'm always having to still work back with the parents. So I'm sure a lot of teachers can attest to this as far as like you're fighting so hard for that child, but then you have that parent that's just like, yeah, right? So it's just like, I can't it puts me in a very hard place because I want to go so hard for the kid, but then respectfully, if my child is a minor, I have to pull the parent in. I have legally, right? I have to pull the parent in. I have to gauge with the parent. And sometimes it's hard to talk to a parent and say, you know what, Johnny is having issues because you're a helicopter mom. You're not listening to Johnny. You're not listening to what little Sarah is saying. And then some parents, especially, and a lot of times in our culture, we get so defensive when people are trying to help educate us about our kids. I know what I'm doing. You don't tell me how to raise my kids, this, that, another. A lot of times, right? Not all the time, but very most so often. So because the stigma behind having those parents that become so combative instead of helping the child, it's too much additional work for us as clinicians to show up for that kid. It takes a special person to work in mental health. It takes an extremely special person to work in mental health for children, because at 100% of the times, that child is not only your client. Even though the parent never signed up for therapy, that systemic dynamic is your client as well, because you have to talk to the parent. You have to talk to the father. You have to talk to well, you don't have to talk to the siblings, but the siblings are going to be a factor in that.
Right, right. But the thing is, and I agree with everything you said because, like I said, I deal with these little people every
Mhm.
day, and a lot of the times when I see the behaviors and the activities of the children, and then they're called to the office, or
Mhm.
there's some administrator that has to become involved in the situation, and then a parent has to be involved in the situation. 9 times out of 10, you see the parents, you see the child. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is you see the ideals of what that child has become off of the actions of the parents. Because a lot of the parents, and like you said, in our community, is I know how to raise my kids. You can't tell me how to
Mhm.
raise my kids. He ain't did nothing wrong.
Don't
And
say nothing to them.
yeah,
Absolutely.
don't discipline, don't say nothing to them. These is my kids.
Mhm.
Well, at the same hand, yes, this is your child, these are your children, but you need discipline just as well as that child because you're still trying to live out whatever wild fantasy or dream or whatever you want to call it that you missed out on as a child, and now you're befriending your child.
I can't really speak on that more so than I would pretty much come from the aspect of, you know, it's so many young people having kids, right? So my generation, my generation, we're raising our kids. A lot of times, my generation who has kids, maybe their mothers are raising the kids, so the grandparents are raising the kids, right? So not so much to say that the parent is like living through the fantasies or the eyes of the child, but more so that sometimes the parent is in a position where they're not at home, right? think about it, especially in our culture. When we talk about Black mental health, a lot of us are working. A lot of us. When I had my daughter, who is now almost 23, I had her a long time ago. I don't remember how old I was at the time, but
Yeah,
I, oh, I
we ain't
did the
gonna
math.
do that math. We ain't gonna do that
I don't
math.
got enough time to do the math, but
But you say she's almost 23.
she's almost 23. So
So
with
we
that
gonna leave
being
it at that.
said,
So she's almost 23. You
correct. But
listen,
I've
listen, hold on.
raised her. Okay.
You don't look like you got a 23. I thought you was gonna
Period.
say like 5 or 7 or
No,
something like that. Girl, you
23.
just said 23.
23.
Period.
And I
Clock
had
it.
my child well in my 20s. So I
Okay.
wasn't like, I wasn't an underage mom. You see what I'm saying? I
Right.
was in my 20s when I had her. So even in my 20s, being, a veteran out of the military, coming back into the civilian world, trying to pursue my education and raise her as a single mom, being a non-traditional student, sometimes we as in the Black culture, in the Black community, a lot of times parents are put in positions that they don't have a choice but to not being home a lot or having their kids be with this person or their aunts or their grannies or whoever the case may be, primarily because of the fact that we're struggling trying to live to see tomorrow. We're trying to keep a roof over our head, right? So I understand your viewpoints on it, but I don't view it that way more so than like I had a 12-year-old Caucasian patient client. And a lot of times when you're dealing with like 12 to 16-year-olds, the kids is already battling a lot of life transitions anyway. They're in school, they're dealing with peer pressures, they're dealing with becoming of themselves, they're dealing with trying to find their identity, things of that nature. And then you get home and now your mom is on your neck like, clean up your room, do this, and why you didn't do this? And it's yeah, 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 yeah. And then it becomes a nag. And it's like, I've heard so many parents say, well, I don't understand why he doesn't have friends. Why does he have to have friends? Why can't he just be who he is? What's wrong with him being by himself? It's
Right.
not always a bad thing because kids are by themselves or because they don't want to socialize or engage. Maybe that's too overwhelming for them. You never know, right? You never know what psychological or what social issues that kids are being faced with. It's like by the time they deal with all that stuff at school, they may get home and be like, listen, I don't want to talk to nobody. Just leave me alone. I'm come home from work and I'll be like that. Nah, I don't want to talk to nobody.
Oh,
I
I
don't
totally agree. I totally
phone
agree.
stays and do not disturb. I don't want to talk to
Exactly.
nobody. I'll see
Right.
y'all on Monday. But you know
Right.
what I'm saying? That's what I say as far as like the parent being the problem because a lot of times they don't realize what they're contributing to what that child is already facing. And a lot of times I hear parents be like I had another parent not recently and they were like, well, I don't know why Sarah, and these aren't their names, obviously,
Oh,
but
I know. Well, no, we're not gonna talk about the real children.
no. But it's like, I don't know why Sarah, she's having this whole big old blow up that these people don't want to be her friends. And I'm like, because that's what's important to them, right? So we as parents don't realize because we can't fathom why you care because little Ray Ray don't want to be your friend. That person probably ain't gonna be your friend 5 years from now anyway. Like we
Right.
know
They don't.
that because
Right.
we've lived that. But
Right.
that's their world. So it's a lot of times when dealing with parents is having to educate the parent more so than it is therapizing the child.
Right.
And that can be a lot sometimes because like I say, if the parent isn't receptive to that, isn't receptive to hearing like, I know that you say you don't want your child to be clingy, but I notice every time I ask your child a question, you're quick to jump to the front of the line to answer the question.
Right.
You
Right.
got to help me help you.
Right. And I get it. And I totally understand what you're saying. You're right. A lot of parents aren't like that. But here's the other part of it. A lot of parents are dumping their emotional baggage, their emotional baggage and traumas on their children. So, like you said, all the things that they're having to deal with in their lives, because okay, just a scenario from my perspective, a mother and a father don't they lay down have children, and sometimes mother or father, male or female, they they down the other person who left and they put all that emotional baggage on their child. Your mama wasn't no good. Your daddy wasn't no good. And these are adult situations. Like, okay, in my life, I have two small children by my ex-wife. And when we split up, we decided that, hey, well, at least I did. I don't know what she really does in her house, but my children have never come back and really said anything. But I made a vow that the day we separated, that I would never talk down about their mom in front of them,
Mhm.
because then that makes me look bad in front of my girls, to down their mother and say nasty things about their mom. But then you have some mothers out here that, oh, you just like your daddy, or you look just like, and then they take it out. Like, I read a story about a young lady in Memphis who killed a toddler because she was mad that the dad had moved on,
Mhm.
and she took it out on the child. So I get what you're saying with the parents, like you said, the helicopter moms, and little Johnny's supposed to be speaking, but you ask Johnny a question, but then the mom was like, well, Johnny needs to do this, or
Mhm.
Sarah needs to do this. And it's like, wait, what does Sarah want? What do you want, little Sarah?
Mhm. Mhm.
Not what Taquita want, not what Lakeisha want, but little Sarah or little Johnny. And so it we grow up with some of those traumas and triggers from our parents. And that's why I say the parents, but I'm speaking from a perspective of working with children on a day-to-day basis, and these children having behavior issues, and the parents are justifying it, or they're advocating for those children to be these miscreants or be disruptive in class. My son didn't do that. He would do, come on, boy, let's go. And they want to call administrators and teachers out of their names because they're not giving their child a pass
Mhm.
to be whatever it is that I ain't doing no work. Like today, for example, I took some kids on a field trip today.
Mhm.
And one little boy decided that he didn't want to listen to the teachers. And there were some older teachers. The lady was probably in her 60s. He said, you ain't gonna live long, no ways. That's why you old. And he called her bitch. This is an older black lady, and this is
Mhm.
a elementary age black child. He said, you an old bitch. That's why you ain't gonna live long. She says, sit down. It's like, I ain't sitting down. So then he storms off the bus. And then a Caucasian lady stops at the front of the bus. It's like, hey, just calm down, sit down. And he pushes her out of the way and was like, get out of my way. You ain't gonna stop me. I'm gonna call my mama. Is his mama advocating for that activity? And she gonna come up there and she gonna clown on his behalf, or is she gonna listen to the administrators?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
apparently he's
So
done this before.
so with kids, like I say, is a very unique situation, and because that's not my area of expertise, I can't speak on that. My population is always going to be 12 years old or higher. So those behavioral issues I don't really get to experience because my child is an almost like a preteen. So they're beyond those behavioral type issues. So
Yes.
I'm not an expert on child therapy or anything children related. I can just only speak to say that working with children are not my forte. That's not where I specialize in, because it hits me different because my level of I probably because I used to be a foster parent too. So
Okay.
I'm always looking to advocate for kids on a different level. I'm advocating for my adults anyway, or for my adolescents and my teens anyway. But I guess as a previous foster parent, my heart sits different for children, because a lot of times children don't have that voice. So because I know how I know how enmeshed I am when it comes to being that voice for kids. That's something that I stay away from, because that's just not, I'm not specialized with like keeping my emotions out of it.
Right. Well, let's drive on past the kids. Now, what is your specialty? Since kids are not let's talk about what your specialty is, and let's drive down that road.
Absolutely. So my areas of expertise is definitely going to be veterans. I am a United States Air Force veteran, so I'm always looking to work with veterans, veteran families, and
Thanks
service
for that.
members. Thank you. I intentionally specialize in Black mental health in the BIPOC community, multicultural. So black
Real quick,
indi-
what is BIPOC?
black indigenous people of color.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
Well, I just want to get that out there because
No
everybody
problem.
may not know
No
what that
problem.
meant.
I was getting ready
Okay.
to circle back to it. But
Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
that's
Come on.
the multicultural background. And then single mothers. I'm all about women's therapy. So my population of women, motherhood, single parenthood, domestic violence survivors. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do teens, but that's just not the area that I will prefer to work with. I will work with them, but my area of expertise is definitely veterans, BIPOC community, women, college students, life transition, things of that nature.
What is the biggest hurdle you're seeing right now in the veteran community when it comes to mental health?
That the need for mental health clinicians is so high because there's so many veterans that need mental health and not having the capacity or the bandwidth to sustain the need. So many veterans come out of the military and come back into the civilian world needing this mental health, but then not having the capacity within the hospitals to actually maintain. So a lot of times we as veterans are only seen for a short period of time, right? It's almost like a in and out type cycle. We're gonna get you enough to get you stabilized, and then we got to move you out the way because there's a whole slew of additional veterans that needs help also. So that's one reason why I do specialize in veteran mental health, because as a veteran, I know how it feels, especially being in the community. If you're not being seen in the VA, being in the community, having someone who understands you, who's been through the walk of the military, is very far and few. You can't really find a lot of clinicians outside of the VA medical center that does that.
Okay. What is the ratio of men versus women that are having mental health issues coming out of the military? Is that
That's a
something that you would know?
that's an excellent question. Unfortunately, I would not have those numbers. Definitely something that I plan on working on with my dissertation when I start my PhD. That's part of my dissertation. And it is just also African American experiences of working with the veteran population is part of my dissertation as well. So I hope to in the future have acquired those numbers. But
Okay.
as of right now, no, I do not have those.
Is it true? And I'm not going to cross any line, but I've heard because, of course, my partner in crime is a veteran,
Hmm.
and he was saying that there is a stigma that's there. Caucasian veterans get better treatment than the African American veterans.
Good question. I can't speak on that either. I don't know that. I can only speak at this particular point, my level of experience. And
Okay.
I can say that as a veteran myself, I get phenomenal services from me,
Wonderful.
especially when it
Good.
comes to my own mental health. But I can't speak on the demographics, male versus female or black versus white. Like I cannot state that without doing some additional research.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I looked at your social media and I saw you do a couple of speaking engagements.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. And you are a member of what sorority?
Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Zeta Phi Beta. All right
Yes.
now. Okay. And I
Yes.
see that you are the mental health advocate for them.
No, as of right now, I'm just a mentor for them.
Okay,
I am
mentor,
looking
mentor.
correct. Oh no, excuse me, I'm crossing. Sorry. So for Zeta Phi Beta, no, I'm not an advocate, but what I am is the chair. So I initiated a mental health initiative within my chapter.
Okay.
So I'll serve as the chair of that committee, the mental health and wellness committee. And it's to bring, we do so much in the community that sometimes I feel like people who have those helping hands, we forget ourselves. So I like to just have that space where I can like give resources to my sisters. So then that way, as we continue to do work in the community, we're taking care of ourselves and our own mental as well.
Right. And that's one of those big things because that's one of the things I'm struggling with right now. And I'm not really struggling with it is you do so much for everybody else, but you tend to forget about yourself. And that's
Hmm.
one of the things that I'm going through right now is the fact that I've done so much for everybody else around me. I mean, from parents to siblings to relatives to coworkers to everything. And I had one of those reflection moments where it was like, what have you actually done for yourself?
Mhm.
And I really couldn't name anything that I had actually done for myself just because it was me.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of us tend to put ourselves in that particular space. What advice would you give someone who's in a position where like we're adults? Fuck everybody. I'm just gonna do what I want to do for me. Yeah, I done enough for everybody. Fuck all y'all. All y'all can kiss my butt. I'm at a place where I just want to do something for me, whether it be a small gesture or a big gesture.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny that you asked that because I do specialize in self care for helping professions and helping professionals and individuals and just other people who are in those helping roles, right? Whether it's volunteer or professional. And one thing that I do, I try to lead by is like, you don't even have to say F everybody else. You really don't. But that does not mean that you negate you in the process. Be intentional about you while you continue to serve others, right? So I do a lot of my presentations, a lot of my speaking engagements on self-care while serving others, like protecting your own mental health. How are you taking care of yourself while you're serving others? So I have the privileges of also a speaking engagement coming up in April of 2026 at the National Association of Black Counselors in Dallas, Texas, which I will be speaking on just that, how to be intentional about, taking care of yourself, doing self-care. Majority of the people that are in helping roles, it's not that we forget about ourselves. It's just that we become so passionate about helping others that we fall to the wayside. We're the last resort. It's like, I'll help me, but not right now. I got to help this person, help this person, help that person, right? So not so much of F everybody. Like, we don't want to say F everybody. I'm going to do this for me. But also saying, like, in addition to helping them, I'm going to do this for me.
Okay. That's wonderful. Now that's like you said, that's one of the things that you focus on. What are some of the other topics that you focus on and speak about?
I also speak on grief and loss. That's another area of interest that I enjoy. Just talking about like grief on different levels. Grief looks different for everybody. I do a lot of psycho ed type presentations where I'm educating my audience. Like I say, whether it's self care, whether it's how to identify your own needs or identify what grief looks like or identify what level of grief you are at and how do you navigate that, right? But that's
Now in
typical.
I'm sorry. I'm
No, no,
sorry.
no.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, in grief, because you're hitting
Hmm.
things and certain things. Okay, so in grief, what if a person is in the has okay, a parent dies
Okay.
and the parent wasn't really in that child's life and they grieve the fact that that person died, but they don't grieve them. Is that bad or is that good? Because like, okay, for example, one of my homies, his dad died, but his dad wasn't really in his life.
Mm.
So he really didn't care for his dad. He cried because his dad died, but once his dad died, he was like, oh, well, whatever, he's gone. But he's still carrying emotional baggage and scar. Is he still in the healing process? Because he's never forgiven his dad for not being in his life.
So that's a very good question. And it's kind of hard to just say yay or nay, right? Because each individual is separate. As a clinical counselor, my biggest thing with this said individual, I will help him identify what it is exactly he's grieving. Maybe he's not grieving the actual death, but maybe he's grieving the loss of not being able to have that relationship with his father or not having the opportunity to have that conversation with, well, this is how I felt about our time being brought up. Grief does not always equate to death. You can grieve the loss of a job. You can grieve finances. Like there's so much grief that you can deal with. It's not just solely based on death. And I try to educate people on that. But when it comes to that scenario, it's kind of hard without speaking to him because I will help him identify what exactly are we grieving? Are we grieving the loss of him as an individual, or are we grieving something else? People grieve relationships. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard to say. Just it's not
Yeah.
really a blanket answer that I can give.
No, and I agree with you on grief because my brother worked for a company for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and COVID took his job away. And I watched this man grieve that job like it
Mm-hmm.
was like he had lost a part of his life. I mean, my brother, he had started working for this company when he was 20 years old.
But in reality, he did lose a part of his life. He's been there for so long that has become him, right? So let's take you, for instance. You have your radio podcast. If you lost your podcast, you're gonna lose. You're gonna grieve a part of that.
Yeah.
Whether it's your choice to let it go, whether it's something happened and it's been taken away from you, it has become a part of you. So because that part of you is a part of him that is grieving that. So and that's why I always go back to, like, with children, the example that I gave with kids. We look at a lot of situations from our standpoint and be like, he over here crying about this job like that was his life. But to him, it was his life,
No.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it from that perspective. I looked at it from some people do, and I would never disrespect my brother because I watched him go through
Mm.
the pitfalls of you're right, of losing, because that's what I'm saying. That's why I gave you that example of my brother, because I watched him lose who he was. That job was his identity. It was his lifestyle. He traveled
Mm-hmm.
for 20 years. He saw places that we'd never see. He done things that we'd never do. And all of a sudden COVID comes along and he loses it all. And I watched my brother just shrink into
Mm-hmm.
himself over the loss of this job. And that was the first time I realized that grief was not just only death.
Absolutely.
It's a part of who you are. And like you said, like being married, me and my ex-wife was married for 10 years. We had 2 children. I grieved that I had to grieve that relationship because me and that woman was together for so long and we had these 2 babies. You know, in my mind, that was our forever.
Mm-hmm.
Until I found myself in a 1-bedroom apartment crying for a week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and just slowly building myself back up. So yeah, grief. You're right. Grief is not just death.
Mm-mm.
It's multifaceted.
Very much so, and it's not a linear a linear healing. Grief can look so different for everybody. Some people, it take a day or two and they over it. Some people, especially depending on the situation, some people don't overcome grief for years and years and years. That's why you have some people who have lost family members like moms and dads, and 20 years later, they're still grieving the loss of their mom and dad.
Yeah, I live with one.
Mm-hmm.
Not being funny, not just because I laugh, but you made me think about my wife, the woman I'm
Mm-hmm.
married to now. Her mom died 4 years, 5 years, 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, and my wife still grieves her mom to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't make fun. I don't do anything. I just comfort her. I'm just there for her. So that's why I said grief. You're right. Grief looks totally different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And even 6 years later, she still grieves her mom. Now you talk about grief.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other topics you talk about?
Well, so the way that it all works is like chronic and complex traumas. So that's going to be like the childhood traumas, lifestyle stuff like that on a complex or a chronic level. Grief and loss, life
Okay.
transitions. So life transition can look like, oh, I'm about to have a baby, or oh, about to get married, or me and my significant other just broke up. Whatever life changes that look like, I started a new job, so I'm going off to college, specialize in that. And then also dibbling and dabbling in couples therapy, which I do enjoy, but not a pro at that right now, but I do enjoy couples therapy.
I bet you that's rough, boy. That
It's
couple's
not. It's
therapy.
not for me. It's a lot of fun for me because, like I say, I like to help people. I have a servant heart, and I want people marriages to survive and last if that's what they want. And if that's what they want, I'm going to work towards giving them the tools and the resources to make that happen.
Right, right. Well, I hope all is well in that. But it just to me, from an outsider perspective that's not in that particular field, it seemed
Mhm.
like that would be tremendous experience, because then you have these two people that have been together whatever amount of time they've been together, and now you have to help them figure out where they went wrong on an individual level, also together.
But I would challenge that and say I don't, because my goal is not to help you figure out what you did wrong. My goal is to help you figure out what can we do right moving forward. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? So I feel like
Yeah.
the type of approach that I use is a cognitive approach. So it's always about changing your thought process, changing your behaviors, changing your patterns. So I don't really focus on, oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. Okay, you may have done those things. You know what you've done wrong, because I'm sure your spouse told you many times what you've done wrong. You don't need to come into my space for me to beat a dead horse. Your spouse told you 117,000 times what you've done wrong. That's the reason why you're here now. So my thing is, tell me what's going on. Tell me from your perspective, what did your spouse do? What did your spouse do? Okay, how can I show up now to help you guys collectively move forward? It's not about what somebody did previous. Not to me, it's not. As my way I do therapy. But it's not about that. It's more so, how can I give you the tools and the resources to be the best version of you so that you can sustain that marriage or that relationship?
And that's beautiful.
Thank you.
You Hey, you teaching me something. But I get your perspective, and that's why I have you here, because like I said, ordinary people doing extraordinary things in their lives. You're teaching me something, because I guess at my mindset, I would look at it that way. But from a clinical perspective, it sounds amazing. Instead of
Hmm.
focusing on the wrongs, let's focus on how we can better tomorrow. And that's
Correct.
amazing.
Hmm. Now, are there
So,
some clinicians that think the way that you think? I'm sure it is, but that's just not how I do my work. You say extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm just out here doing God's work. That's it.
amen.
I'm just
Yes.
a vessel.
Yes.
I'm just a
Talk that
vessel.
talk,
That's
sister.
it.
Yes.
So,
And
yeah, I don't have no place to judge anyone. I tell people all the time, my tagline is to create the safe space I always needed. So I'm not out here to pass judgment. I'm not out here to talk bad about you. Hell, I know the stuff that I still need to work on and that I am working on with my own therapist. So it's like, no, I want to be able to we started this conversation out with, and I don't want to keep you too long, but it's like we started this conversation out with, the stigma around Black men and mental health, right?
yeah. Yes.
I want to create this space where they feel comfortable enough to talk about the things. I have grown people in my session, grown men that cry in front of me. I don't judge them. If this is the only place you can take that S off your chest and get some of that out of you, go ahead. Well, if you want to cry for the next 60 minutes, I don't even gotta watch you. I'll turn around and do some progress notes. Have at it.
Right.
How can I show up for you? And that's my biggest thing. So I always want to be that space where people don't feel like I'm judging you. I'm that you have to become so defensive. Like, you're already, especially Black people and Black men, we're already out in this world fighting the challenges that we're fighting culturally, and even Black men, you know, gender wise, a whole different a fight than what we as Black women fight. The last thing you need to do is to come in your therapy office, and then your therapist is like, "Well, your wife said you did this wrong and you did that wrong, so let me tell you what." No, no, mm-mm, mm-mm.
You just dropped a gem in my soul. You know why? Because what I do every Friday night is I host a 2-hour live show where men can come in and have vulnerable and transparent conversation. And what you just said hit me so hard. I created a space that I
Hmm.
always needed. You understand what I'm saying? I
I
created a
do.
space that I always needed in my life for other men
Hmm.
to come in and have these vulnerable and transparent conversations. But it was the space that I always needed, because I never felt like I had the space
Absolutely.
or the place to be able to have some real conversations and share my emotions and share who I am as a man. And oh my goodness, I told you to drop the gym. Excuse me.
No, and listen, I
Excuse
get
me.
it, cause
Excuse
it's
me.
and that's how it is, and that's most of the
Mm,
people that are in helping positions, we are in these positions because we know how it is to feel not to have that space.
right, right.
So
And
it makes sense.
that's the reason why I do what I do. It's
Mhm,
because I never had that space. I mean, the woman that I married, I thank God for her every day because God brought her into my life. I wasn't seeking her, she wasn't seeking me. God kind of brought us to a place to where we met, and he gave us what we needed in each other, not what we wanted in each other.
mhm,
And she created a safe space for me to be vulnerable and transparent with her, which in turn gave me the courage and the opportunity to create a space for other men to have these conversations and be open. Because the one thing I told her at the beginning, when we first started dating, I told her, I said, if you ever see me naked, you'll never get rid of me.
mhm,
And
mhm.
it was the emotional and mental naked. It wasn't a
Oh, I know.
physical naked.
Mhm,
And when we first started dating, I would come over and we just talk and talk. And she would sit there and listen and just let me pour my heart out, just pour all these, and I'd never had that before. I was married to
mhm,
this other woman for 10 years and she was about her. Not to say she's a bad woman. She's the mother of my children. She has her own particular set of things going on in her
mhm,
life, but there are two different women, and God knew what I needed in this woman, and He gave me this woman. And the years that we've been together and been married have been the best years of my life.
mhm,
I've been more places. I've done more things. I've experienced different emotions. I've experienced a freedom that I had never experienced in these 45 years of my life. I've experienced, and it's not, and I tell her all the time, it's nothing that you've done for me, but you've done everything for me.
mhm, mhm,
And then the fact that she didn't actually physically or emotionally or mentally do anything, but she gave me a space to where I could be free. And once she gave me a safe place where I could be free, the rockets start going off.
mhm, mhm,
And the creativity came up, and the oxytocin levels came up, and then all of these things that had been buried because I was so set in that old school mind, just go to work, pay the bills, go to work, pay the bills. If you're mad, go to work and pay the bills. If you had a fight with your wife, go to work and pay the bills. If the kids acting up, go to work and pay the bills.
mhm.
If the light bill is late, go to work and pay the bills. And work was my refuge and a place of stress.
Right.
But that was all I knew at that moment
Mhm, mhm.
because of what I was taught as a young man is that a man goes to work
Right.
regardless.
Mhm.
Regardless what he got going on, he goes to work. He go to work. I don't care if somebody shot your toe off. You better bandage that thing up and go to work.
Exactly.
You get a cut
Exactly.
on you get a cut on your arm. You better throw some dirt on it and get back in that field.
And that's why a
And
lot of men in the black culture don't have this feel like they have the space to be vulnerable. We don't have time we don't have time. We got stuff to take care of. We got to pay the bills. We got to put a roof over our head. We got to take care of the kids. We got to do this. We got to do that. So yeah, we just don't black men just don't have that. I mean, I already know that we as black women barely have it, but black men, I feel like really don't have it. But I know that you said that you had your live session where people what call in.
well,
Is that
it's
what they
like
do?
it's on a platform where you have to download an app. You
Mhm.
download an app it's called Podbean. That is the hosting site that I use. It's called Podbean. Every Friday night from 7:30 to 9:30, I do a live show. You download the app, send out a link via either email or text message. You come in, you can either get on the panel or you can stay in the chat if you want to just be anonymous. And you can come in and you can talk with the guys that I have on my panel, or you can you can type something in the chat box.
I got you.
And it's all nothing sexist or biased, but it's called a kickback, a place for brothers. So men can come in and have these conversations. But I do invite women to come into the space and just hear the conversation. Hear the perspective of men who have actually let their guards down. Hear the perspective of men who knows that they are in a non-judgmental place where they can have true, transparent conversations. Because even like I said at the beginning, being vulnerable is opening yourself up for an attack. Now, me being the host of the show and doing it for the time that I've done it, I've opened myself up for attacks a lot of times. And I feel like if I cannot be vulnerable and transparent with my audience or with the people that are on my panel, then how could I ask these men to be that? So I usually talk about what's going on with my marriage, what's going on with my children, what's going on with my life, and I don't fluff anything. I'm
Yeah, so
usually
that sounds real good. And like I said, I know that we kind of limited for time today, but if it is an opportunity, like if I could be a guest, I would be honored to be. And then if those men wanted that space to be able to ask generalized questions from a therapeutic setting, I'll be more than happy to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'll be live, and that's up to you though. It's however
like,
you want to
listen,
do, but I do.
we also do in-person events.
Okay.
We've done our inaugural. We're about to have our second in-person event, December the 6th at Hartman Park. We have partnered with Ageless Men, and we're going to do like a health summit to go out the end of the year. And we're going to they're going to come in and they're going to do tests for like just men things and talk to men about better health, because we're losing a lot of brothers to prostate cancer.
Right.
We're losing a lot of brothers to prostate cancer. So me being the host and having this platform, I not only want to just talk about the world, because most of the time I don't talk about the world unless there's a topic that's relevant to the conversation. But I usually want to talk about men's health, mental health,
Right.
well-being, all those things. So that's why we're doing the Healthcare Summit on December the 6th at Hartman Park. I'll send you a flyer.
Please.
Do what it with you may. But Nisha, it was wonderful having this conversation with you.
Absolutely.
And what I
Absolutely.
do at the end of my show is I ask 3 questions.
Absolutely.
All righty. What is Nisha's go-to snack?
Well, Nisha is a fatty patty, and Nisha likes to eat, so I don't know if it's just one. That's a good question. I had to think, what is my go-to? Probably some, I eat anything in hand's reach, honestly. Some chips, some ice cream, some chocolate chip cookies. I really don't have just one. It just really is whatever's within reach.
Okay. So if you could describe your perfect boo, spouse, if you could describe your perfect spouse, how would you describe
Sent from God.
it? Okay. We'll roll with that. Sent from God. All right.
Because God know what like you say, God sent you not what you wanted, but what you needed.
Yes,
I need
I
my
totally.
I need mine to come from God. I tried to do it my way and with my list before, and it didn't work. So,
Oh no,
I need
God
them to come
whooped
from
me.
God.
He whooped me a couple of times. He sent me this one. He sent me. I know she sent from
He'll
God because,
send you what you want. That don't necessarily mean that's what you need, though.
but but on the other hand, he'll send you what you need, not what you want. And here's the thing I've had to learn along the way of this relationship: getting what you need comes with a lot of adversities that you never knew, and it's like looking in the mirror, because getting what you need shows you everything you need to work on.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
shows you all your imperfections and all your flaws, because the person that God gives to you is going to help you and strengthen those areas that you're weak in.
I think also on the flip side, though, him sending you what you want is the same way, because you think you want something. It's been plenty of times I be like, "Oh, I want," and then God say, "All right, here you go," and I'm like, "Nah, I changed my mind. Come get them.
But see, the thing
Come
is,
get
when he
them."
sends you what you need, it's different, because he sent
Right.
you what you need. And I get what you're saying. He sends you what you want. You be like, oh, no, this really ain't working. I thought this is what I wanted, but it's
I
not what I
thought this
wanted.
was what I wanted.
But when you get what you need, then it's like, wait, is that really how I act? And it
Mhm.
makes you focus and look more at yourself in the mirror.
Mhm. And one
Because
thing about me being on this mental health career journey, you don't have a choice but to work on you. I had no choice but to work on me on this journey, because how do I learn all these different things mental health wise, and then I just continue to be the
now,
unhealed version of me.
on the flip side of
Mhm.
that, you take in all of these things for people. What is the thing that you do for yourself after hearing people tell you these stories, tell you their problems, all of that? How do you rejuvenate, refresh, release, all those things?
It's interesting that you asked me this question, because literally was asked this question today on my panel interview for my doctoral program, and that was one of the questions that they asked. And one thing that I would honestly say is I consult my own therapist. I tell people all the time, if your therapist don't have a therapist, you need to find a new therapist, because we all have issues. We all have my issue. I tell my clients all the time, I may not have the issues that you have, but it don't mean that I don't have no issues. And just because I'm sitting on this side of the sofa, don't mean that I got all my stuff together. No, I'm a work in progress. I'm just a little bit further along on my journey than where you are on your journey. I'm a little bit more educated on my journey because I went to school for it. But no, definitely I consult with my therapist quite frequently. But being in a therapeutic setting is very therapeutic for me in itself. So what people may find like, oh, you're carrying everybody's baggage. That's not what it is for me. To me, that's where I find my solace. I find my peace sitting in a therapy setting with my clients. I find all my issues go out the door. That's my temporary escape from my own problems. I can come in and help somebody else. And it's like, I don't even think about all the stuff that I'm dealing with or going through. So I have a lot of friends that say, oh, well, I really want to reach out, but I know you deal with this and you deal with that. And I just didn't want you do not understand how, even if and when I am going through something, people asking me, allow me to show up and be present for them helps me in my own journey.
Yes.
So that is my own solace. That's how I know that what I'm doing is purposeful. It's in alignment with my assignment.
Right. And we're about to go out the door, but you listen. I love your energy. I
Appreciate
love
you.
I love who you are. I love because I may not have the education, but everything you just said, I so feel. I know I was complaining about helping people or whatever and doing all those things, but that's where I most find solace.
Mhm.
It's a double-edged sword because I most find my solace helping people, but then sometimes, we're human. So the human side of you like, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. But then I help somebody else again. And then I do it all over again. So
Mhm.
I totally get what you're saying with that. Thank you for being here. Can we say, if I need to connect somebody, would you be willing to work
Absolutely.
with us?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Not even a thought about it. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. We
I do want
thank
to
you.
challenge you. I do want to leave you with this, though. I'm going to
Come
challenge
on
you on
with it.
something that you stated. You said, I may not have the education that you have. You're absolutely right. You may not have the textbook education that I have, but you still have life experience. So don't
Yes.
let, just because you don't have the textbook experience or the textbook knowledge, make you feel like you less than or not. No, you're in the field that you're doing what you're doing because that's where you're supposed to be. So don't let me say that because I have the education to be where I am. My education allows me to be where I am. Just
Right.
like people have the education to work with children. I don't have the education. I don't want the
Right.
education.
Right.
So my education just looks different, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so
Yes.
I'm going to challenge you on that thought. And that's kind of like how I leave my clients, is I always challenge them in a way that they are left with thinking about it from a different perspective. Your glass doesn't always have to be half empty. Sometimes it can be half full.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here on the kickback. We appreciate you. We'll do this again.
Please.
We'll do this again. We're gonna do another check-in to see how your journey is going later on down the line.
I would love that. I would love
Nisha
that.
Speaks, everybody. Thank you for being
Thank
here,
you so
man.
much. Thank you for
All right.
having me.
You're
All
welcome.
righty.
Have a great night.
You as well.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.